Hi friends! This is DaintyTank. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to First Snow. This is part 10. Poke Toter in the upper card area, see the rest of the series, blah blah blah. As you can tell, things are a little different. I'm in the Dainty Wife's office today because my normal recording space is in the attic, and with the heat wave happening right now, no. Just dainty melt. It's really sad. Really sad. Anyways, so we're in here. It sounds a little bit different. I've got fans going, and there's a lot different of a space. So hopefully that doesn't bother everybody. Beyond that, let's get into things. Last we left off, we had Allison basically show up with Aline and Aline's family, and then she came out over dinner, kinda-ish. It seems like they already knew and had a conversation, but they didn't know about Allison, which is a lot. Just kind of a lot. So, yeah. Then they had this whole sneaky rendezvous, so excited to see where this goes. Let's keep going. Load that game. We made quite the progress here. And again, this is free. It's awesome. The snow makes a satisfying sound as I pat it down, each handful making the sphere become, before me, that little bit bigger. It's surprising how much physical work putting a snowman together is, but this is my first time making one this size. Standing out in the front lawn in the cold of the early morning, I keep patiently patting away at my creation, slowly but surely building him up. I've been wanting to make a snowman for a while now, but between moving, studying, and hanging out with the others, it just hasn't been much time. While I might have wanted to keep lazing around with Aline, her family probably wouldn't take much longer to get back, and she wanted to keep practicing her art. If nothing else, at least we're both a little more awake now. It's rather nice to be out here, despite the cold, and given some much needed time to unwind. I think I'm living up to the expectations of Aline's family, but living in another's home under the gaze of strangers is still stressful. Not that I'm alone out here. The odd squirrel flits about in the distance between the trees, and birds can be heard chirping away from the pines. I wonder if Aline, for her love of the outdoors, appreciates the sounds of nature around here. Even if you're the only person around, you're never really alone. The air is nice here, too, fresh with just a hint of pine wafting from the trees. You know, wafting from the trees. Wait and see Godzilla. Oh, wait, you wouldn't know that. That is, like, 1980s Godzilla cartoons. They play it on Saturday mornings way early. It made no sense. There was Godzilla that could be, like, summoned by kids for, like, taking down bad, like, industrial machines that were dumping waste in the ocean. It was very much just like Captain Planet, but it's Godzilla. Anyways, it makes no sense to you, but, you know, to me, I was like, wafting in smells of pine, which means pollen. All of the pollen, then pollen turned into Godzilla for some reason, and I don't know. Dainty rant. Such a big house. It's only when the car door clangs shut behind me that I realize I've become so distracted with my surroundings. Her father makes idle mention of how little traffic they encountered as they pass into the house, with her mom guessing that the cars must be going in the direction of the city instead. Eve bounces out of the car after them, but stopping to spy at what I'm up to. Ah, a snowman! Yep, never had time to make one back home. Want to build one too? Yeah! Great job getting points with the young'un. Needing no further prompting, she enthusiastically rushes past me and crouches down, pushing together snow with her tiny gloved hands. Oh! The two of us start working away, with her snowman slowly starting to take form next to mine. There's almost a therapeutic feel to it all, relaxing outside as I see the large snowman coming together with each little step. Even Eve seems to have quieted down, focused wholly on her work. Maybe this is a bit what sculpture is like. It's satisfying to build something with my own hands and see an object form where there was nothing before. Looking over to Eve's snowman as I go, I'm impressed with how quickly she's managed to get something together. Slightly lopsided figure, roughly equal to her height. Wow, you must have lots of practice. She continues working away at it, making a bit of a show of pounding the snow into the shape with both hands. Her entire upper body being put into it. Aline taught me how to make snowmen. There's a bit of hesitation still, as if she's reminding herself that she shouldn't talk too much to a stranger suddenly hanging around her sister. Hopefully the fun of sharing the experience might help distract her. It sounds like you and Aline are really close. I don't get to play with her much now that she's moved out. I miss her when she goes away, but Mom and Aline always argue when she's home. You could visit her back in Utah, maybe. I'm sure she'd like the company. Dad says we will, but he's always got work. I want to see her paintings. She was always making them before she went away. Her paintings are really pretty, aren't they? Yeah, but Mom said it's not a real job, so Elaine gets mad. What about Dad? Dad says he thinks the same, but they shouldn't fight so much over it. Sounds like they don't get along very well. Hey, can you make Aline happier? Can she make Aline happier? Ha! I'll certainly do my best. Satisfied with the best answer I could drum up, she goes back to work on her snowman, little hands collecting some more snow to pat on. Pat, 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 pat. I might say that, but I don't really know where to begin. When I think about it, she's done a lot for me, but when I think back to when we've been together, all I've been able to do around her is watch as she draws and paints. I'm just getting myself worried over her, she said. Aline's perfectly capable of looking after herself. Ooh, the computer's hot. Ah! Do this. Click out. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Pausing. Okay, I think that's better. Sorry about that. I have actually had a computer die from the heat before, because Boston area where I was before, it was very much like very, very old homes that have no air conditioning at all. So you start playing a game and suddenly it's just like, and dead. So I'm being very cautious on that, because can't have this die, then I lose my connection to you. That'd be sad. I am weird today. It's because of the heat. Anyways, back to the snowman. I'm just getting myself worried over her. As she said, Elaine's perfectly capable of looking after herself. It's not like she needs me to be happy. Trying to stop myself from dwelling, I focus on patting the head of my snowman some more to make it a little bit less rectangular. Do you paint too? Not really. I just draw cute things. I draw too. Can you show me your drawings later? Sure, that'd be great. As she beams a grin, I'm glad to finally be making headway with her. I never thought I'd be bonding through messing about in the snow. Have you shown Mom and Dad? They're always busy, so I can't always show them. My nanny's seen all of them, though. She's nice. A nanny, huh? Suppose you don't get to live this nicely without some sacrifices. I wonder if Aline was raised by a nanny, too. Wonder if either of them ever really connected with their parents. I think you have a little bit more, judgment on that a little bit. As we work away on our creations, the door opens once more. Looking around to see who it is, a familiar figure strides up. I do worry about her long boots and the slippery slope, but she doesn't seem too bothered. What are you two doing? Making snowmen! Making snowmen! You don't say. Well, if you want some lunch instead of freezing out here making snowmen all day, come in from the cold already. But I want to make him better. Aline studies her work for a moment before reaching out over towards me. Too confused to respond, I just stand there as Elaine's hands reach over and take my scarf from in their grip. What? I'm winding it from my neck. She silently walks over to Eve's snowman and smartly wraps it around what probably is supposed to be the neck. That looks cool. There. He'll be happier now that he's less cold. He'll still be here when you get back. So go and eat something. Your show is starting, you know. Shocked that she might be missing something even a minute, she completely drops any attention she had on the snowman and stomps off as quickly as her restricting clothing allows. It's obvious Aline has Eve wrapped around her little figure. Yeah, that's a very smug look there. All I'm left to do is stare at Aline pouting. You can grab your scarf back when Eve gets bored of making him. I was gonna use it on my own snowman. I swear, you're worse than her sometimes. Uh-huh. Meanwhile, back inside. Such a cool transition. The sound of Saturday morning cartoon shows fills the living room as I walk back in, each hand carefully balancing a bowl of cereal. Eve sits quietly, wholly focused on watching television. While still something of a work in progress, she seems more content to let me hang around now, even if she doesn't engage much. Maybe simply being friendly company to her, company is enough for her. Despite being the weekend, Eve's parents are out once again. This time, they're with Aline to check how her car is going. Of all the things Aline's home is different to my own, it's the sheer quiet that most gets with me. With few cars around, nor people nearby, there's only the odd, boisterous bird outside to make noise. I could get used to small town life like this. My spacing out is interrupted as the main door shuts with a loud thud. A familiar figure striding past. Welcome back. How's the car? It's fine. We're heading out once Dad's finished poking at it, by the way. Sure. Where are we going? You'll see. Finish your breakfast for now. I'll get your clothes out and pack everything. Isn't this a bit of a rush? I still have sleep in my eyes from waking up, and she's usually a zombie at this time of morning. Still standing around with bowls in my hand, I hold them out and look down, checking that I'm not going crazy and did actually dress myself this morning. But I'm already dressed. Not for where we're going. Oh, she takes her hiking. The quiet morning is only punctuated by the crunch of snow underfoot, the occasional birds chirping, and the jangle of items from our backpacks. Apart from the woman plodding ahead before me and the footsteps she leaves behind, all that I can see are pine trees, as much snow on their branches as greenery. Oh, and the puffs of condensation from our breaths. The scenery is nice, at least. It's hardly expected to be spending today hiking through the forest when she dragged me out of the house, but so far, it's been a pleasant way to spend the day. Tired as my legs may be, Aline's pace doesn't falter. Her hiking clothes she let me hang off my frame, but I suppose that should be expected given our height difference. They're comfortable, though, and most of all warm. Oh! Very cute. Picked a good day for all this. Not exactly warm, but at least it's not bitterly cold. She does this with all the care that one might give when looking out of a window of a morning. Aline really seems to be treating this as almost an everyday activity. The fact we need bear spray out here also weighs on my mind. Apparently being black bear country, Aline simply carries it in stride. If they're out in Colorado, it's less black bear, because black bears are hibernating at this time. More brown bear. And so we keep plodding ahead. Plod, plod. Plod, plod, plod. Plod. On the plus side, plod, the air is nice and fresh up here. The odd, huge bird squawking as it flies above us, it calls echoing around the mountains, makes for a nice atmosphere. That odd, boisterous bird, it's following us. When we're alone here like this, her family feels like the elephant in the room. There's so much I want to talk to her about, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say since she told me not to pry. Yeah, but she's probably expecting you to say something. Wanting to fill the air with something, I end up settling for the mildest of small talk. So you experienced this, huh? Yeah. Been for a few hikes around here. Played outside a lot as a kid, ended up adventuring more and more until I started hiking. With your father, or not alone? No, alone. It's nice to have some time to myself. Without doubt, Aline has to be the most solitary person I've ever met. Maybe that explains her abrasiveness towards her parents, but feels a little unfair for her to take it out on them. Coming out here has been a real help with my art, too. But we're running out of breath. I have to stop and take a moment to collect myself. My natural pace is slower than Aline's, making this hike all the more taxing. How's all this related to art? The more life experiences you have, the more inspiration you have. Hard to create anything of worth when you're stuck in the four walls of my room. You need input to be able to create output. That's how culture works. Thinking on her words as I turn around and start moving once more, Aline's voice calls out. Watch out, there's stone there. I look at my feet, quickly stepping around the dangerous trip hazard. If it weren't so big, I'd move it out of the way for future people coming up here. I took this route a lot as a kid. Probably the easiest way to make it through this area, but you still have to keep an eye out. My breathing heavy, I come to a grim realization that Aline must have been far more fit when she was young than I am now. Sorry, I'm a total city kid, I guess. You're plenty smart, but you can't just pick up everything from books and internet, you know? Well, we can sure try. I don't really know how to receive that half compliment, half criticism. Is this where Aline picked up her independence, hiking in the woods alone? It's all like it's bad out here. The air and the sounds and everything are nice. Just can't imagine doing this alone. I can. It's a really interesting experience to do that alone. And not just because I'm barely being pulled along, as it is. Do you think maybe we could rest soon? Going about the frown over her face, Aline is clearly disappointed with my request. We've barely started. There's a resting pace I can reach, but we can't stop every few minutes if you want to get back by sundown. Just how far does she plan to take us? Whoa! That's pretty! Rah! The sound of the river getting louder and louder as we walk before the two of us finally reach a clearing after a couple of hours or so of hiking. Despite barely being able to walk, I keep myself from complaining anymore, not wanting Aline to be disappointed in me again. Two of us slowing to a stop at the top. To a stop as she looks around. It seems we will be finally making a pit stop here. So you asked 2 hours ago to take a rest. Aline! Same as it always was. Looks like nobody's messed with it. About to ask what's so significant about this place, before she bends down and sweeps some snow off a few large rocks, showing them to be purposely set in a small circle. Here, have a seat. Settling herself down on a particularly large rock, I quickly followed her lead and sit next to her. Looks like most of the rocks here were carefully set in the ground to make a little campsite, positioned next to the gently flowing river. My legs are happy to get I get to sit down. Looks like you've come here before? I ended up building this place up into a little base camp over the years. Bears kept taking out everything I brought in or set up, but at least they leave the rocks and the ditches alone. Lee makes herself comfortable as she pulls out a tin and thermos to pour herself some water, while I cup my hands and huff into them to warm up a little. With the two of us settling down to recover for a while, I listened to the sounds around us. It's so different to my own home, with the sounds of cars and crowds replaced by the river's slow trickling and various birds and other wildlife, like the big, huge, boisterous bird. Somehow, it isn't a surprise. This is the kind of place Aline would like. She sits here thinking to herself. She looks like part of the scenery, just as she did in her quiet art room. At least, until Caprice and I made it decidedly less quiet. Then there's me, in my oversized clothes and labored breaths. It's peaceful. Yeah. Thought my apartment was quiet, but it's nothing like this. Her place wasn't quiet at all when I was there. Constant cars, construction, and people walking by. I'm not like you. I've only ever lived in the big city. I was worried about being so far from home, but I think I'm lucky here. Playing with Eve has been fun too. Family has been real nice to me as well. Lane's face sours, making me immediately regret adding that last little addendum, or more to the point, that lecturing tone. I want to understand her, but she only gives me small pieces to work with, not enough to puzzle things together. I knew my sudden intrusion into her home would be at least a little awkward, but I began to realize Aline's resistance is bringing me here. Resistance to bringing me here was about more than that. I started speaking before even gathering my thoughts. This isn't a great start. Just what is it that makes you want to be away from them so much? To move to a different state? I mean, is it just about your choice of career, or can we not bring all that up? I came here exactly to get away from my parents being on my case. And then there was silence. And a zoom into boobs. You gotta zoom those boobs. And we know from previous experience, this is Allison's point of view. Just to zoom in and enhance. Explains her rush in the morning to organize her hiking trip out here, especially if she was stuck with her parents. And while they gave her car a spin around town, I was about to say, that sounds miserable. So what am I even here for? Something up? You're staring at my chest for a long time there. I thought you brought me out here because you wanted to share it with me. I was really excited to see the kinds of things you did growing up. Her face told me that she hadn't even considered that reasoning. I feel a little stupid for attaching so much feeling to this now. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a good look if I left you back at the house while I wasted time out here. So this was just stress relief for her. Even now, she's not looking at me, probably more busy thinking things over with regards to her family. I open my mouth to try and ask her about it, but I can't work out what to say. I'm just here because she feels obligated to invite me. I guess I should have realized she doesn't want me here. She didn't want me here at her home at all. I'm the invader. I'm in her space. It's no wonder she treated me like a burden this entire walk. If I was going to get in her way, she should have just said so. Maybe talk. Talk here. In the end, the only reason I even know anything about her disagreement with her parents is because Eve told me. Aline doesn't want me to know. For now, I'll just have to be content as a spectator, looking into her life without getting too involved. That's a face of, I'm sorry I fucked up. I quickly look to her, but rather than acting contrite, she's pointing to my left side with her gaze focused. An insect seems to be lazily crawling on top of my left hand. The thing about fingernail and length and jet black. I don't recognize it, but it looks harmless enough. To be honest, I can't care less about the little beetle right now. You're not worried? Should I be? Well, I mean, most people don't like bugs crawling on them much. I just shrug, leaning down to press the side of my hand to the cold ground, while gently persuading the bug to get off with my other hand. After a bit of effort, the little fellow gets off my glove and onto the soil, scampering off a little faster from the experience. It won't hurt me. What, just another of your animal friends? I'm not exactly in the mood for being teased. It's the kind of thing you can learn in books or on the internet. Aline laughs it off, but I'm sure she could tell I'm being snippy. With that, she stands up, putting her thermos and cup back into her backpack before dusting herself off. Hopefully she offered that to Allison. Just saying. If you're on a hike with your date and your date doesn't offer you something to drink, that's a problem. Ready to keep going then? We've still got the afternoon ahead of us. Yeah, sure. I try to put as much enthusiasm into it as I can muster, but I get the distinct feeling that I'm just along for the ride now. And so she pushes forward without looking back at me. This is always where I am with her, whether I'm watching Aline paint or watching her hike. I'm always far behind with the eyes on her back. No. Oh. Talk about that. You should talk. Just saying. Eve! With a wave to her father as his car disappears down the road, Eve takes my hand in hers as we start off down the street. With the weather particularly nice today, and Eve needing to burn off some energy, we decided to take a grand tour of the local town. Her pace is thankfully slower than her sister's, with my sore legs needing a rest after the excursion yesterday. I had wanted to do this with Aline, but she couldn't be dissuaded from painting in her room. There wasn't much fight in me to argue with her, so that was that. Maybe some time away from her is the best. Even people who like each other sometimes need a break, I think. Yeah, it's called introvert time. You need it. Honestly, like, one of the Dainty Wife and my favorite thing to do was what we called code introvert, where we each just sit in a room together and do our own thing separately, but like together. So we'll like every now and then look up, just go, I love you, and then like go back to whatever we were doing, reading, knitting, playing something, watching something, whatever. The old wooden storefronts hardly loom over us, being mostly just a couple of stories tall, themselves dwarfed by the forested hills behind. Strolling around is a much nicer way to take it in than clutching to Rose on the back of her bike. Fair. It's nice here. Oh, it's nice here. Kind of boring sometimes, though. Thinking about it, I could see that being the case for a child. A few people out and about today are basically all graying older folk hobbling along as I look around us. Such a pleasant atmosphere has its downsides. My thinking's interrupted by a ping from my pocket. As we stop for a moment, I pluck my phone from my pocket and unlock it. Who is it? Hey, Allison, how are things going? I'm guessing Rose? Just my dad, asking how I'm doing. As she stands on her tiptoes trying to look over to my phone, in curiosity, I get an idea. Crouching a little and bringing the phone level with her as she sets herself back down, I try to hold it steady. I'll send him a photo. Stay still. In response, Eve fixes her pose and stands up prim and proper, dusting herself up to look as good as possible. It's charming how seriously she takes this. Aww. With a tap and click, the photo saved and quickly sent on to Dad as a message. That's cute. Friend's sister is showing me around. Friend. Huh? Sounds like you're having fun. Yep. Yay. How are things there? Back home safe and sound. Your brothers are driving us nuts. We'll be glad to have you back. Sounds like things are the same as ever then. See you in a few days. Miss you. Take care. Enjoy the last of your trip. I smile and lock the phone once more, slipping it back where it belongs. I have to stop myself from counting down the days left here. I don't want to start regretting this trip and once again wishing I was home. Hey, what's your family like? Totally different, I'd say that much. I have a mom, dad, and 3 brothers, and a cat. And we all live in the city, and it's really busy and noisy every day. They're nice, though. It'll be good to be back home. Satisfied with my answer, Eve pulls me forward as we begin our tour in earnest. As she points out this and that through my thoughts about Eve and my family, but stuck on wanting to be doing this with Aline. Yeah. Just as it was whenever I watched her paint, I feel like I'm watching her life from outside, rather than sharing our time together. I don't doubt that she likes me. She certainly likes me in a physical sense. I like those times too, but I feel like I'm the only one who wants us to become closer in more than just a physical sense. I'm the one who planned our first date. I'm the one who asked to come here. Now I'm wondering if Aline even wanted any of this. The one time I thought Aline wanted to share something with me, she was just using me to distract herself from her problems. Problems that she won't talk to me about. All I can do is sigh. What's wrong? Just a shame your sister was busy, that's all. Is Aline having a good time in college? Why do you ask? Mom said she was worried about Aline since she moved out, but whenever Aline's around, they always argue. Is she really alright? Aline says this with genuine worry in her voice. Aline's parents really do care about her, even if she doesn't think so sometimes. Aline's fine. Every day she's making pretty paintings and having fun with friends, and she helped me a lot since I met her. Aline's always been fine, now I think about it. Ever since we met, I've merely watched her as she lived her life. Since getting together, has anything really changed? For all our intimacy, she still treats me the same way she always has, all while relentlessly pursuing her ambition. Oh, I can't think like that. I'm getting myself wound up. Your parents are nice, aren't they? She gives an enthusiastic nod. They think you're nice too, since you hang out with me. At least they think I'm useful, I suppose. I never realized it before, but having a little sister is really fun. Not that I mind my own siblings, but 3 older brothers aren't quite the same company. They're older? But you're in college. Why are they all home? Let's see some more of the town before we go back then, okay? Yeah! Oh. Finally back from our trip after the bus ride back. Eve bounds through the door as I drag myself in and close it behind us. I don't know how kids can have so much energy. Aline stands with a glass of water, looking nonplussed at our entrance, before noticing the new book held tightly under Eve's arm as she skips over to the living room sofa. You didn't. I could spare that much money. It can be her Christmas present from me. You're enjoying having a little sis, aren't you? She got me. How's the painting going? Need to go down to the city soon for supplies and stuff. No art supply stores around here. Want to come? So I'm along for the ride as usual. I feel bad for thinking bad thoughts about her, but I can't muster any real want to come along. I'd just be baggage while she did her thing. Sorry, still tired from yesterday. Suit yourself. I'll be straight back afterwards. We're having pizza for dinner tonight, by the way. Ah, good. Two of us briefly wonder how to continue conversation, but I can't think of anything to add. With that, she wanders back into her room to keep painting. I feel like I should follow, at least to see her paintings coming along, but my feet feel stuck. You need to talk about this. Left to mill about alone as Eve can be heard happily humming to herself from the sofa. So I turn around and head back out the door for some air. The warm afternoon air is starting to fade by now, causing me to push my hands into my pockets to try and save whatever warmth I can. At the rate the weather's going, it's sure going to be a cold Christmas. At least the snowmen are liking it, still standing tall as they guard Aline's house from the front yard. It's easy to lose sight of when inside, but her house sure is big, even with the yards pretty spacious. But I suppose living so far from town would help that. Nice house with enough money to live alone on her parents' dime. Trips all the way to Germany. Aline really did get a good start in life compared to me. It annoys me a little that she doesn't seem to see that, especially when it's her parents paying for her apartment. Painting alone in a room, hiking alone in the woods, living alone in an apartment too big for one person. Is that really independence? Moving out, away from your parents, but still relying on them for everything? Try as I might to get closer to Aline, I can't help but feel like I'm just hanging around her. While I'm looking at her back, is it just because she's always ahead of me? Why shouldn't she turn around to look at me? I wonder what I really am to Aline. The fact that I can't work out an answer makes me restless. As a lump starts to form in my throat, I quickly decide to wander back inside. All I'm doing is making myself feel worse by dwelling on all this. I should make the most of my time here, given I only have a few days left. That's fair. And talk. Communicate. I love you dearly. Communicate. And that's gorgeous. I think we're going to leave it here. I've been having fun with this series. I think this is a good stopping point for now before we get into more. Let me know your thoughts, definitely, on all of this. My thought is that they just need to communicate more. Period. That's a thing. And it helps. Anyways, with that, I will leave you here. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe, click the buttons, do the things. And I will see you later. Love you all. Bye.